This is the Area 210 podcast. My name is Mike Jimenez. That's Joe Garcia. We're going to have fun today for the next hour, 15, hour and a half. Talking sports, pop culture, nostalgia. We'll be talking about how the Spurs got shellacked last night in Detroit. Is Mamu better than Jeremy Sohan? We need to have this conversation. Joe, how are you doing today, my man?
I'm doing good. And is Mamu better than Jeremy Sohan? What do we say? Women lie, people lie, numbers don't lie.
Dude, we have to really get into that conversation. Also, Russell Wilson going to the Giants. What does this mean for the upcoming draft? Because they got themselves a decent quarterback. I mean, Russell Wilson isn't as good as he used to be back in the day, but it's not like he's terrible or trash. I mean, he had a decent season last year. Is Shedeur Sanders going to drop? Are the Giants actually playing chess? Because a conversation piece on First Take earlier today I thought was pretty interesting as to what they could be doing. We'll get into that. Does this basically mean that Aaron Rodgers is going to go to the Steelers? Is it pretty much a foregone conclusion at this point? We'll also talk about the fact that another NBA star goes down with what they call it, vein thrombosis, a blood clot.
Deep vein thrombosis, same diagnosis that Wemby got.
So we have a lot to get into. The chat line is open.
I was going to say, we're also going to talk about Jimmy Butler's return to Miami yesterday as a Golden State Warrior. A lot of hype about this, and
he went to bed.
We'll talk about it, but it was funny because he comes in, gonna play or whatever, and they actually have a tribute video to him. He trying to be nice, put a tribute video out there for him and everything. Comes into the game, what happens? Immediately gets dunked on. Oh,
he got dunked on pretty hard, man. It's funny, man, because I'm looking at it right now. Last night, and I apologize to Spurs fans yesterday because I was very, very optimistic. I was like, the Spurs had won 3 games in a row, 5 of the last 7. Let's give out the apology form for Mitch Johnson, and then the Spurs go out there and wet the bed. That game was over. You were texting me in the third quarter, and I said, Joe, I've already stopped watching. I mean, I stopped watching around 3 minutes to go in the second quarter. I was out using the Traeger last night. I was making burgers and jalapeno poppers and all that stuff. And I'm watching the game, going out and checking on the food. Watching the game, checking on the food. Every time I go check on the food, I'd come back. They'd be down from 5 points to 10 to 15 to 25, all the way down. And it was just a brutal game. Spurs lose by, 23 points last night.
Yeah.
And, again, it was a team that did not have Cade Cunningham. Spurs lost 122 to 96. They lost by 26 points yesterday. Look at the stat lines. I mean, I guess the positive is Stephon Castle had enough points yesterday to kind of keep things going. 19 points yesterday on 7 of 15 shooting. Got off to a slow start. But, Joe, we need to have a conversation about 2 things. One was something that Devin Vassell said after the game, which you can read about at Jeff G. Spurs Zone on Twitter and on Threads and at Kens5.com, where he says, hey, man, we're playing good ball. We're optimistic about things. We need to talk about whether or not he needs to take a different attitude when it comes to it all. Should they be glass half full kind of players right now? And then the other thing is that I'm looking at the stat line, and guess who shot well again yesterday, Joe? Mamu. Mamu played more minutes than Jeremy Sohan, outscored Jeremy Sohan, and we need to start asking the question, is Mamu better than the colored hair freak?
Mamu he's very efficient. He makes the most out of the minutes given, even if it's not a whole lot of minutes. And tell us this stat line. How many minutes did Mamu play and how many points did he score?
Okay, so Mamu played 17 minutes, shot 4 of 7 from the field, knocked down 3 of 4 3-point attempts, had 2 rebounds and an assist for 11 points. Jeremy Sohan played only 15 minutes, had 2 points and 4 rebounds. Jeremy Sohan was 1 of 4 shooting overall.
But I've been told Jeremy Sohan is a great player. That's what Spurs fans told me.
Oh, no. The same Spurs fans who say Mitch Johnson ain't it are the same Spurs fans who are telling me that Jeremy Sohan is worth a damn. Jeremy Sohan is an above-average defender. I get that.
He's all right.
But he's just an all right guy. Dude. He's just a dude, man. He's just a dude. Meantime, the guy that they could have picked a few spots, who got picked a few spots later, Jalen Williams is out now as an all-star for the Oklahoma City Thunder, so that's kind of crazy. But let's look at Mamu's stats right now, Joe.
Look at
Mamu's stats.
He says Jalen Duren is better than Sohan.
And the Spurs could have gotten Jalen Duren in the same draft.
There you go.
So let's talk about this, Joe. Mamu, last 5 games, which of course includes that epic game he had against the New York Knicks there at the Frost Bank Center. Last 5 games, 25 of 41 shooting for 61%. Last 5 games, 14 of 24 from 3 for 58.3%. On the season, an effective field goal shooting percentage of 65.6%, which leads the Spurs when it comes to jump shooters. And it's not even close. It's like by far 65.6%. We went back in time. I mentioned this a couple of days ago. 25 years, Joe. We've never seen a jump shooter like Mamu with an effective field goal shooting percentage of this range. In fact, we haven't had anybody in the 63, 64 range. Last one we saw was Brent Berry, Boris Diaw. Those kind of guys got close. Doug McBuckets got kind of close in the low 60s. But Mamu is so efficient that I would much rather have Mamu out there playing offense with mediocre defense than have an above-average defensive player playing mediocre offense in Jeremy Sohan. What say you, Joe?
I think I've seen enough of Jeremy Sohan, man. He's just a dude. He plays defense, but at the end of the day, if he's the only one that can play okay defense and the rest of the team is just shit in the bed every damn night, what good is he? He can't shoot the ball. Can't knock down he can't knock down his free throws consistently. He's still shooting that stupid one-handed free throw. Whatever, man. Give me more Mamu, dude. Why isn't Mamu getting more run?
Give me some more Mamu. Last 10 games for Jeremy Sohan. I mean, well, on the season, he's averaging 11 points per game, averaging 6.5 rebounds. He's just a dude, man. He's just a dude. Where's Matt Lerma? Is he in the building right now?
No.
Because Matt Lerma was Mr. I'm still with you, Sohan. I'm still with you.
No, I'm still with you, Mamu.
Last 10 games, Sohan has averaged 13 points and 5 rebounds. I mean, it's just one of those things that I think the disappointment is this is all we're getting from the number 9 overall pick in the draft. I think that's the disappointment. The disappointment is we saw players who were better that got drafted after Jeremy Sohan. That is the big problem when it comes to it. Sohan's never going to be a star. He might be a fringe starter. He might be a decent 6 man. But all of this hype that he got early on, if the guy did not have colorful hair, no one would give two craps about him, dude. No one would. Everyone fell in love with the colored hair. He's like a Draymond Green, Joe. He's like a Dennis Rodman. No, he's not. He's just a dude. He's just a dude. Yeah. And the Spurs are going to have to pay him after next season.
No, they shouldn't pay him. You know what? His name should be gone. Let him walk.
Sam Salinas on our YouTube stream. Chat line powered by MCS General Contracting saying, I think Lerma quietly dumped Sohan.
He went into hiding. And look at Lejas here. He says, sup, everybody. Late to the show, just wondering if you all still asking for these sorry apology forms. Yeah, your team got blown out the water, just like I predicted. I told everybody this shit was going to happen. Nobody wanted to listen. And to add insult to injury, you know what happened during the game?
Of course, it was awful.
FanDuel app went down. You know, they had technical difficulties, like always, during the broadcast. So Spurs fans couldn't see the debacle that was the Spurs-Pistons game. Did anybody miss those minutes? No. They did you all a favor by taking the damn game off the air for those couple of minutes. You didn't miss nothing. Yeah. This game was as exciting as watching paint dry. It sucked.
So back in the day, we had Fox Sports Southwest, Joe. That was good times. We could watch the game. You know, now we have all these streaming services out there. And the problem was when Sinclair bought them, right? And it was Sinclair Broadcasting who bought Bally Sports. And Sinclair, one thing you know about Sinclair is that they don't spend money on anything. They're the cheapest company of all time. And guess what? The product sucked. And now it's on FanDuel. And it sucks even more. It's just bad basketball. We're watching bad basketball on bad broadcasting with bad reception, Joe. We're gluttons for punishment.
You know what was funny last night? I'm watching the broadcast. I'm watching this shitty game, and they think they had TJ Ford on. And he's like,
"Yeah, TJ Ford, yeah,
5 minutes or something left, 6 minutes. I don't know, something stupid like that. They're only down by 19 points. This is an NBA game. Anything can happen." No, brother.
Yeah.
No, this team ain't it, man. They were down by 19 points, getting their ass handed to them. They couldn't stop anything. I mean, they just were just stinking it up from the get-go. And he's over here trying to get false hope. Well, if they're only down by 19, anything can happen. Come on, man.
Well, the only one who came with some fire to play early on in the game was Devin Vassell. Devin Vassell last night, 32 minutes played, had 26 points, 6 of 12 from 3. As I've mentioned to Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs, and I believe I'm on today's Locked On Spurs, we talked about Devin Vassell, and I mentioned the fact that Devin Vassell, his stat lines get very good when he's the number one option. He likes to be the number one option on a bad team, as opposed to being the number 3 or 4 option on a good team. When Vassell's number one option, he lets it fly. He's confident. He does all that. He just doesn't know his place, Joe. He thinks he's a star. He plays like he's a star, but he's not.
He's just a guy.
Well, he's a decent player, man. He's an above-average player. He can shoot.
He's inconsistent, though. That's the problem with Vassell. He thinks he's better than he actually is. He's just all right. He's all right.
He's a decent player, man. He's a decent player. I'm not going to say that he's a bad player. I'm not. Devin Vassell.
No. Is he?
I mean, how many players can go off for? No, he's not. But there's only 12 All-Stars per year in each conference, though, Joe.
Yeah, I know. He's all right. He's just all right.
Not every player can go off there and shoot 6 for 12 from 3 and knock down 26 points.
Not everyone can be Mamu, dude.
Exactly. Mamu can, but not everybody else can. But Devin Vassell going out there. Stephon Castle kind of, by the time the Spurs were down by 20, he finally started scoring points. Had 19 points, 4 assists and 2 rebounds. Chris Paul collected a check yesterday. He did some cardio. Had 3 points and 3 assists in 21 minutes. Bismack Biyombo had as many points as you and I did last night, Joe.
Yeah.
0 points in 25 minutes. Remember when everyone's all excited about Bismack Biyombo?
I remember.
Harrison Barnes, 9 points, only shot 1 of 7 from 3. So the only players that brought it yesterday were Vassell and Mamu. Julian Champagny back down to earth, 0 of 6 from 3. Spurs shot 31% from 3 yesterday. Had a crap ton of turnovers. Spurs lost 122-96. The only bright spot, Joe, is that the Rockets beat the Hawks yesterday. Orlando won. So from a draft perspective, things got a little bit better. If you want to go to NBA Tankathon right now and check out what's the latest and greatest when it comes to it all, the number 1, 2, and 3 teams right now in the draft before the ping pong balls get drawn out are Washington, Utah, and Charlotte. You have New Orleans at number 4, Philadelphia at 5. Again, their pick is only top 6 protected. If it falls to 7 or below, it goes to Oklahoma City. Toronto right now is at 7. Miami at 8. Spurs dropped to number 9 because Portland won and Chicago's been winning. So right now, Portland's at 10, Chicago's at 11. Dallas is at 12, Sacramento at 13, Phoenix at 14. Actually, it's going to be the Rockets at 14, Orlando at 15, and then you see the Spurs at 16. Weird thing, Joe. Weird thing is that it's possible the Spurs go into the play-in tournament at number 16, but it ends up number 11. It ends up number 12. Because if you do not make the playoffs, again, there's a difference between the play-in tournament and the playoffs. The play-in tournament is the playoffs are 1 through 6, 7 through 10 make the play-in. Whoever gets slotted at 7 and 8 make the playoffs. 9 and 10 go back into the lottery, right? So that's why you see right now Atlanta with a 35 and 37 record being at number 16, but there are teams that have better records, like Sacramento has a better record. Phoenix has a better record. They're at 13 and 14 because in the West, they're outside of the top 8. If Orlando's only half a game behind Atlanta. They're going to play each other down the stretch too. If Orlando overtakes Atlanta, they move back down a spot. So what we're going to be looking at this whole play-in tournament is will Atlanta make it into the actual playoffs, which is, are they going to go from the play-in tournament into the playoffs? If they do, Spurs more than likely will use their pick around number 15 or 16. If they don't make it through, even if the Hawks end at number 7, but lose back-to-back games and don't make the playoffs, Spurs could be picking at 12 or 11. So we have a lot riding on who Atlanta plays in the play-in tournament. But again, the Spurs lost last night. It was the first loss in 3 games. Spurs had won 3 in a row leading up to that. We're expecting a 4-game losing streak. So even though I said the apology form should come out, I also prefaced the fact that the Spurs are going to lose 4 games in a row, because not only did they play Detroit yesterday, but they have road games against Boston this weekend, road games against Cleveland, and a road game against the Golden State Warriors. Spurs should lose all 4 of those games because, again, the Spurs can beat up on bad teams. They just suck against good teams. That just is what it is. But, Joe, you were watching that game last night. Any bright spots for you in last night's game? Was it all just trash?
No, it was just all one big can of ass, dude. It was just bad basketball all around. Devin Vassell goes on to say after the game, yeah, there's still a lot of things we need to clean up. No, there was a lot of things you all needed to clean up a couple years ago, and you all are still making the same damn mistakes. Like, at some point, you're getting the same results. You're getting the same results with the same personnel on the court. The problem isn't that you all have to clean up shit. The problem is y'all can the Spurs got to start unloading players. They got to start getting rid of people, man, because this ain't it, dude. Even with a healthy Wemby, even with a healthy Fox, this team is still ass. They're not it, man. This ain't it.
It's hard to say without a healthy this, that, and the other, man, because De'Aaron Fox, much like Mitch Johnson, was just thrown into the fire when it came to this team. We don't know what the magic is going to be with De'Aaron Fox and Wemby. They didn't have an offseason together. They didn't practice together. They didn't get to know each other. They were literally strangers thrown together midway through the season. So it's kind of hard to say that they don't have anything when it comes to that, because I can still be optimistic that a team with De'Aaron Fox, Victor Wembanyama, Harrison Barnes, and Stephon Castle can at least start to make some noise.
Who's going to be the 5? Who's going to be the starting 5 next year, you think? Should be the starting 5 on paper, right? Who should be your starting 5?
Well, I mean, theoretically, the Spurs do have some money to throw around. I mean, there are some pretty decent 5s. The problem is that I think a lot of Spurs fans think that it's going to be a star that comes in at number 5. You know, the star defensive player. It's probably not. It's probably going to be like a Nick Claxton kind of player. You know, a Williams kind of player. You know, somebody who's just a bruiser down low. Then again, Joe, we're looking at the draft, and you got some pretty big bodies out there. Asa Newell's out there from Georgia. You've got that kid from Duke who's 7'2". The Spurs might be able to draft one of those guys and plug a hole. That's assuming that the Spurs don't get into the top 4. If the Spurs get into the top 4, they're going to draft either, you know, Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, or Edgecombe.
Leha in the chat pissed, dude. He wants the Spurs to get picks that are outside the top 10. Tired of hearing everyone talk about these effing picks.
Well, I mean, I understand the frustration from Leha because, you know, it's kind of like the Dallas Cowboys who are trying to get better by just the draft alone, right? I understand that, but I mean, the draft is kind of the bread and butter where small market teams win.
Yeah, we do.
Denver drafted Jokic. Yeah. Milwaukee drafted Giannis. We drafted Wemby. We also drafted Duncan. We also drafted Parker. We drafted Ginobili. We drafted Sean Elliott. We drafted a lot of our star players over the years. And they weren't all at number 1. Sean Elliott was number 3, right? Tony Parker was in the 20s. You know, Ginobili was in the 50s, for crying out loud. The draft does mean something. It's just whether or not you're picking the right players at that time. I mean, not all star. I mean, look at like Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk Nowitzki was drafted like number 9 overall.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of good players who've been drafted number 9 overall historically. And it's just one of those things where the Spurs need to find the right player, need to develop the right player. And it's a crapshoot. The Spurs could have had Alperen Şengün, could have had Jalen Williams, could have had Cody Williams, could have had a lot of decent players out there, but we took Josh Primo. We took Luka Samanic. We took Jeremy Sohan. We took Lonnie Walker.
And most of these guys, where they at? Gone.
They're all gone.
Gone.
Super chat coming in.
Yeah. From Sith Lord Elias, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it. $4.99 super chat coming in hot. It says, shout out to Devin's PR team. Fake ass optimistic quote. He's delusional.
Yeah, thank you for the super chat there, man. I think he is a little bit delusional when it comes to it. He's trying to put a positive spin to it because that's all it is. It's a spin room. But if you look at the drafts right now, the Spurs have not done a very good job drafting recently. They got Stephon Castle, which was the best player available at number 4. Great. They got Wemby, who was the generational player that everyone would have picked at number 1. Great. It's when the Spurs have to pick at 9 that I get frustrated with. Or when they have to pick at 15 or 14 or 12. That's where it's like, that's how you know you have a good GM. You have a good scouting system, is when you can pick that guy, the stud from that point on. Because you know what, Joe? If I was Brian Wright and I was picking in the 2024 NBA draft, guess who I would have chosen number 1 overall? Wemby. No shit, right? No kidding, right? He's the best player there, right? If I was the GM last year, picking at number 4 after you saw Reece Shea go number 1, Alex Sarr go 2, and you saw Reed Shepherd go 3. Guess who I would have picked, Joe? I would have picked Stephon Castle. You know why? Because it was a no-brainer. So Brian Wright getting flowers for the last 2 picks, back-to-back Rookie of the Years. He picked the no-brainer that every other GM would have picked.
Yeah, it's not like he did anything sexy, anything, controversial.
The one time he tried doing something sexy and controversial, it turned into Josh Primo.
Yeah, so the thing, at the end of the day, at what point do you start looking at Brian Wright and really holding his feet to the fire? Mm-hmm. This brother can't pick worth a damn when it comes to drafting. He's proven that. I mean, like you said, he's made these last couple decisions here based on, hey, this is the best available player. Number 1, you're going to go with Wemby. Like you said, when the Spurs picked number 4 and they had Stephon Castle there, they picked the best available player. It wasn't rocket science, but when you're going back and you're looking at the mistakes that were made prior, he's still here. They still have Coach Pop, for all intents and purposes, going to be having him come back next year. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like the Spurs just keep making mistakes after mistakes after mistakes. The gentleman's agreements that they have with some of these players at times, it's asinine. Yeah, man, it's stupid. Like, at some point, you got to move on, dude. Like, they hang on to these players way past their prime here when they could have gotten something for them. Then they're forced to take whatever, and they let them walk for basically nothing. Here's a pick, 2nd-round pick. Mm-hmm. Take them off your hands. No, man, go out and draft people that are worth the damn, that are really going to work out in this system. And right now, they haven't done that. And they see how far behind the Spurs are in the Western Conference and how far behind they are as a whole when you're comparing them to the other teams in the NBA. Look at what happened, case in point. Remember, at one point in time, the Timberwolves were a bad team, worse than the Spurs, going in the opposite direction. But slowly but surely, they started making headway. And then they surpassed the Spurs. And that's what's happened. The trajectory of the Spurs is still on a downward spiral, unless they can go ahead and solidify the roster. They need to do that in the offseason.
Well, the problem is that the Spurs are so far behind the number 1 overall team in the Western Conference, Oklahoma City. We had a comment a few minutes ago from JHNSB saying, can't wait for the Thunder and Grizzlies to pick the steal of the draft again. The Thunder right now have interest in the draft because that pick from Philadelphia, if Philadelphia gets leapfrogged by 1 or 2 teams, like the Spurs leapfrogged them from 9 to the top 4, right? If 2 teams leapfrog Philadelphia, a lottery pick goes to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And it's very possible that Oklahoma City, the team that's number 1 overall that might win the title this year, is going to pick 1 or 2 spots ahead of the Spurs. How tragic is that, Joe? So we're talking about being a better team. We need to be a relevant team first before we consider this to be a team that's going to compete for anything.
And where does that start? Does it start from the front office? Do they need to get a new GM? I mean, what's happening?
Well, the problem that you have here is that you have Wemby there, and you want to have some sort of stability for Wemby somehow, some way. You don't want to keep giving Wemby a new coach, a new everything, because if we move on from Mitch Johnson, that would mean that Wemby would have had 3 head coaches in 3 seasons. How well are you going to develop in that situation? I don't care if the assistant coaches or Brett Brown was still there, but to have 3 head coaches in 3 seasons for Wemby is tragic.
Look, and we also got another 199 super chat incoming here from Mario Cavazos. Thanks, Elias. Thanks, Mario. We appreciate the support, man. Greatly, we do. And he's saying, draft pick selection, high ceiling or high floor?
Wow, that's a great question, man. That's a hard question to answer. I think it all depends on the player and the need that you're going for there. It also depends on what your timeline is. A high floor is kind of like Stephon Castle. Stephon Castle, you knew was going to be a good player. He was NBA ready, has an NBA body. Stephon Castle did not have a rookie wall. No. He came in the league at 6'6", 200 pounds. He had the frame. He had the basketball IQ. He had the handles. His shooting could get better. He was NBA ready. Yeah. And the Spurs have had players that were NBA ready back in the day. Sean Elliott was NBA ready, right? Obviously, the number 1 overall picks and Duncan and Robinson were NBA ready.
Manu?
The Spurs have had some decent players that were NBA ready. But then the Spurs have also had some players where it took a couple of years to cook, right? Parker took a couple of years to cook. He started year 1, but he had to be plucked out of the playoffs, right, for Speedy Claxton.
Yeah, he was playing behind Speedy.
Manu was prepared, but it was a slow burn for him as well. But then you have all these picks out there that are projects. And I think this is where you see people like our good friend Chris Playhoff from MCS General Contracting get upset. Is that I think Spurs fans are tired of let's stash them. The Juan Nunez of the world. Let's draft somebody because we think that in 3 years they're going to be a star.
No.
That's what I think Spurs fans are afraid of. When they see a pick like Luka Samanic, or they see a pick like Josh Primo. I tell you this much, Joe. When the Spurs drafted Luka Samanic, how many Spurs fans were excited?
None.
No one.
Nobody knew who the hell he was.
When the Spurs drafted Josh Primo over Alperen Şengün, how many Spurs fans were excited?
None. Everybody was pissed. Everybody was pissed because they knew they dropped the bag, dude. And sure enough, turned to be a bust.
If you go back in time and look at the mock drafts, the final mock draft, not like March or February, the final mock draft of June, right? June 2021, June 2022. Look at the final mock draft on NBA.com. And you're going to see that Luka Samanic was supposed to be a second rounder.
Yeah.
You will see that Joshua Primo was supposed to be an end of the first round, somewhere in the early to mid second round kind of guy. But some teams got excited about him. The Spurs and Oklahoma City got excited. Oklahoma City was. Oklahoma City was the only other team that came up and said that they had some affection for Josh Primo.
Yeah, but nobody had him on their board going in the first round. Nobody. Except for
not 11, not at 11 or 12 where the Spurs got him.
Not in that first round. He would have been in the second, like you said, or third round pick. He was not on anybody's board in that first round that high up, except for the damn Spurs. And the Spurs, once again, think they know better. Oh, we're going to do what we're going to do because we see something in this kid. Y'all are dumb. Dumb. It's stupid move like that, man.
And that's what happens when you see Brian Wright trying to outsmart the room.
Yeah.
Now, if you're Sam Presti trying to outsmart the room, you have the bona fides. You have the ability to say that it makes sense, right? Because it used to be back in the day, Joe. It used to be when the Spurs drafted somebody, you go, "Oh, they're going to be pretty good." Spurs got to steal the draft, right? Yeah. Spurs got Kyle Anderson. The Spurs got DeJounte Murray. They got George Hill. They got these players, and they were the truth, man. It was like, okay, they got the best player at the right time. But that was when you had a different regime. That's when you had R.C. Buford calling the shots. That's when you had Popovich in his prime. That's when you had Chip Englund as the shooting coach. What you've got right now, I mean, is a team that can't scout very well.
No.
I mean, they can't scout beyond the obvious. The obvious is take Castle. The obvious is take Wemby. Do you know what the not obvious is? And someone brought this up earlier. I was a big fan at South Carolina of Gigi Jackson. Gigi Jackson was the youngest player in college basketball at the time. He was the youngest player in the draft, right? He fell from the first round to the second round. So did the Spurs get him? No. They got City Sissoko. And where's City Sissoko, Joe? Gone. Can't draft, can't develop is what Tavares says on our YouTube stream. Let's give some love to Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs and Ken's 5 for your daily Spurs coverage.
Locked On Spurs is your daily Spurs podcast, hosted by Jeff Garcia, the lead Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Jeff has a healthy plethora of guests all the time on the Locked On Spurs podcast. You can also follow Jeff on Threads at Jeff G Ken's 5 SA. You can also follow Jeff on Twitter at Jeff G Spurs Zone. So make sure you go ahead and give Jeff a follow not only on Threads and Twitter, but also on YouTube at youtube.com/@LockedOnSpurs. This is where you're going to be able to find the replay of the Locked On Spurs podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share.
That's right. Locked On Spurs, man, does a fantastic job. Jeff Garcia has had several conversations. I'm going to be on talking about my thoughts on Mitch Johnson. There's a most recent Locked On Spurs about Blake Wesley and his improved performance as the season has gone on. Again, subscribe to Locked On Spurs for your daily Spurs content. Spurs lost 122-96 to the Pistons. I think what was happening, Joe, is that FanDuel was doing us a favor by taking the game off the air. It was bad. It was bad basketball. Let's talk about the NFL, Joe.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So I don't understand how Cowboy fans, especially these Cowboy beat writers, can be all excited about the Cowboys right now and talk crap, talk trash. But I saw a lot of them yesterday, like Clarence Hill and these guys from Dallas Morning News and Fort Worth Star Telegram and whatnot, coming out and saying, good day for the Cowboys because the Giants got Russell Wilson, pencil in 2 wins. And I'm thinking to myself, Cowboys won, 6 games last year? Shut the F up. The Cowboys suck. You can't pencil in 2 wins against anybody. And I'm sorry, Russell Wilson might not be the Russell Wilson that took a team to the Super Bowl years ago. He might not be that guy anymore. But I can make the argument that Russell Wilson is just as good as Dak Prescott is these days. So we're going to rank the quarterbacks in the NFC East because a lot of Cowboy fans right now are still saying, well, you know what? As of right now, we still believe that Dak Prescott's the best quarterback in the NFC East. And I'm like, dude, you have Jalen Hurts, who took a team to the Super Bowl as the Super Bowl MVP. You have Jalen Hurts, who also took another team to the Super Bowl. He's been there twice already. You have Jaden Daniels, who won Rookie of the Year, who is a stud at LSU, who is a stud in the NFL. And then you have Russell Wilson, who's been to the Super Bowl as well, has won a Super Bowl. How the hell are you going to say? How the hell are you going to say that Dak Prescott's the best quarterback in the NFC East? And the argument is, well, if Dak Prescott had, the Eagles roster, the Eagles weapons, he'd win Super Bowls too. No, he wouldn't. You know why? Because Dak Prescott. You know why? He was a 4th rounder for a reason.
Yeah. Look at this, man. Get your thoughts on this. This is what the Giants quarterback room is going to look like. You got Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and Tommy DeVito.
Tommy Cutlets, rather. Okay, so first of all, this time last week, the Giants only had one quarterback, which was DeVito, right? And he's a fan favorite because he's a local kid and all that stuff. He's Italian.
DeVito. You say it's
Italian, right? So they signed Jameis Winston last week to a 2-year, $8 million deal, if I'm not mistaken. Jameis Winston is a quality backup quarterback. In fact, if you were to rank all the backup quarterbacks out there, I would say Jameis Winston is a top 5 backup quarterback, right? You don't want him starting for your team. I know this. I'm a Saints fan. You don't want him starting for your team. But as a backup, 2 or 3 games if needed, fine. But then they go out and get Russell Wilson to a 1-year deal. It's like $21 million, half of it guaranteed. Now they have 3 quarterbacks, but they also have the number 3 overall pick in the draft.
Yeah, well,
the belief is that they're going to get Shadir Sanders.
Yeah, I was going to say the Giants and the deal that they signed with Russell Wilson, a 1-year deal, $10.5 million guaranteed, but he has a chance to earn $21 million with incentives.
Yeah, with the incentives. A couple of things, Joe. I'm looking at Russell Wilson, and if you had asked me this question, because he played 10 years almost at Seattle, 10 seasons, right?
Yeah, won a Super Bowl.
Hall of Fame career, won a Super Bowl. Then he played 2 years at Denver. They didn't want him anymore. Then he played at Pittsburgh, and now he's playing on his 4th team in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a sad way to end a career when it's all said and done.
He's washed, man. I mean, he ain't the same guy he used to be.
He actually brought it back last year, though, man. Last year for Pittsburgh, he had a 95.6 rating, 6 touchdown passes, 5 interceptions, threw for 2,500 yards. Didn't start every game because they were going back and forth. He had a bit of a comeback last year. A little bit of a comeback. They made the playoffs, for crying out loud. Then he goes to the Giants. Giants have 3 quarterbacks on the roster right now. Russell Wilson, Tommy DeVito, Jameis Winston. They had the number 3 overall pick in the draft. Would it be better for them to skip on a quarterback rather, go get a stud player in a different position, address the quarterback position later on in the draft? Or do they still maintain that identity of, you know what? We're going to go for a quarterback at number 3. We're going to go after Shadir Sanders, go after Jackson Dart. Was watching First Take earlier today, and not a big fan of Mad Dog, but Mad Dog had a very, very interesting take when it came to it all. He said, you could ride out having Russell Wilson as a quarterback for 2 years, right? But what if they went a different direction with the drafts, and go after a different type of player? What if they went after that stud from Colorado, the other stud from Colorado, not Shadir Sanders, but go after Travis Hunter? What if you go after Travis Hunter and get that guy in the first round, and then they have the number 1 pick in the second round, which is basically a glorified first rounder? Use that to get Jackson Dart, the quarterback from Mississippi State. Would you rather have Shadir Sanders and whoever they can get in the second round, or would you rather have Jackson Dart, who some people believe is just as good as Shadir Sanders, get him, hope that he's still around in the second round, but get a Travis Hunter who can play both offensive and defensive side of the ball, somebody who can play cornerback and wide receiver?
I would get somebody who's more versatile. Quarterbacks, you're rolling the dice with them, especially with Shador. Right. I mean, I know the kid looks like he's it, man, and he's had a couple great seasons over there with Colorado. But he's still unproven when it comes to the NFL level.
Mm-hmm.
The Giants, okay, you go ahead and you have Russell Wilson. He's all right. He's not the quarterback he used to be. But if the draft is laden with wide receiver talent, Russell Wilson needs targets. You're going to go ahead. I would go ahead and draft a wide receiver. Pass on Sanders. You can always get, or trade for a quarterback. You can get a quarterback if they fall late, in the second round or third round or what have you. Hey, man, who knows? Maybe Ewers will be there sitting waiting for you guys. You could do that. Got another quarterback there in the waiting. I mean,
yeah,
you could do some things, but I think at this point in time, you need to get a stud wide receiver. You need some help on the offense, or you need to get versatile players that can play both ends of the ball.
Well, the one thing that we know about the draft is that there are runs being made at certain positions, right? In past years, we've had runs at quarterback where all of a sudden you have 4 quarterbacks taken in 6 picks, or there's a run at wide receiver. And you see these movement going on within these teams. There's trading up, trading down, because a team that needs an offensive lineman sees that there's a rush on offensive lineman, then they move up, right? Or they need a receiver, they move up, right? And it's funny about these mock drafts is that they're trying to predict what things are going to look like if no trades are made. But the problem is that trades are made all the time, and then the runs happen. What happened if the opposite happens? Because there was a mock draft released last night by NFL.com, and it is completely different than what everyone else is saying. This particular sports writer for NFL.com, so I mean, it's legit. It's NFL.com, right? His name is Bucky Brooks. And Bucky Brooks says every mock draft's wrong. He says number 1 and number 2 should be quarterbacks. He believes the Giants are going to go get Travis Hunter because he believes that Shedeur Sanders is going to go to Cleveland.
Yeah.
But where he thinks things are different is he has the Cowboys going after an offensive lineman from Missouri, Armand Membao, saying, hey, look, I know all this noise about wide receivers, all this noise about running backs, but at the end of the day, the fact of the matter is Zach Martin retired. At the end of the day, you got to replace him. At the end of the day, you need to keep Dak Prescott upright so that he doesn't get hurt. Why don't they go after the best offensive lineman on the board? I mean, that would be that'd be the smart thing for the Cowboys to do. It's not sexy. He goes on to say that, this whole thing about a run on wide receivers is overblown. What are the names that we're seeing? Matthew Golden, Detroit from Arizona State, rather. Guess where he has them going, Joe?
Where?
He has McMillan, the Arizona stud receiver, going number 26 to the Rams. And he has Matthew Golden, who ran a 4.29, dropping all the way to 29 to the Washington Commanders. So we're not going to know what's going to happen in this draft, which is what makes it exciting because we don't know what happens with that. We need to have a draft party, that's for sure, Joe, because it's so much fun as to what goes on. It's just crazy. It's like, oh my God, people are moving up, they're moving down. Teams that are enemies against each other do trades with each other.
True that.
You can see the Cowboys pull a trade with the Eagles. You see the Bills pulling off trades with the Chiefs. It's just so weird. It's like they go, what we're doing is what you're doing, what you're doing is what you're doing. In the NBA, it's different, right? Back in the day, Pop would say, well, we don't trade to Western Conference teams. The NFL doesn't care, man. The NFL is like this. We want our player. We're going to go get our player. We don't care who we're doing business with. Sam Salinas says, isn't that what I've been saying? Build the O-line. Okay, guys. Bucky is my burner account. I moonlight as a Dallas Cowboys beat writer. That's funny. Big Sean PD saying, Mike, talk about our Saints. There's something brewing in the city. Okay, Joe. The Saints have obvious need at quarterback because Derek Carr ain't it. Kellen Moore is now the head coach.
We do have Jeff on the line now.
Okay, well, let me finish the thought real fast. Kellen Moore is an offensive-minded guy. He's a bit of a quarterback whisperer, right? In order to be a quarterback whisperer, you need to whisper into a quarterback's ear. Derek Carr is not the quarterback you want to whisper into. So the idea that the Saints are going to move up to the number 2 or 3 spot to try to go get Shedeur Sanders, or at number 8 go after Jackson Dart of Mississippi State, I would not be mad at. You need a franchise quarterback. And all of these sites, and I saw it this morning on ESPN, they're saying there's something going on in New Orleans right now. New Orleans is trying to make a move. But the last time I saw New Orleans make a move like this, and you want to move into the first round, it not only costs you your own first rounder, it costs you a future first rounder. Back in the day, the Saints drafted Marcus Davenport out of UTSA, had to give up their existing first rounder and a future first rounder. That's a tough pill to swallow, but if it's for a quarterback, you got to do it. Joined now by Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs and Ken's 5. Jeff, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing all right. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Hear me, man.
What's going on with you, man? How you been?
Dude, hey, I don't know if you told everybody, Mike, but you're the guest today on Locked On Spurs.
Yeah, I did mention it. We have a lot to get into. We're talking about Mitch Johnson. We had to preface the fact that these comments were made before the Spurs got shellacked yesterday.
Was that
by the Detroit Pistons? Hey, what's the deal with with the FanDuel site because last night the technical difficulties were ridiculous.
You know what? I think I mentioned that to you, Joe. But don't they want us don't they want our money, Joe? Joe, don't they want us to subscribe?
They want you to subscribe, but they ain't worth the damn, man. That's the problem with this app. Even when it was it that Bally's, Port Southwest or whatever, Bally's app, it was garbage. FanDuel got them now, and it's still garbage. And they want everybody to.
Still going to be FanDuel next year, or no? Is that Amazon already?
No, that's still going to be FanDuel. You know that they have to sell the rights. You know they've already sold the rights to NBC. I know Amazon threw their name in the hat too, and they want to be able to broadcast a couple NBA games as well. So we'll see what happens.
Hey, but I mean, I guess it was so bad, right? The game, the technical difficulty happened to like tech stuff. Like that's how much of a beatdown the Spurs got. FanDuel didn't want everybody to see just how bad the Spurs were getting smoked. Like just keep it away from eyes. But no, I mean, nobody should be surprised they got smoked last night.
What was that saying, Jeff? Throw in the damn towel. That's what this game.
FanDuel threw in the towel early. They knew what was up.
So Jeff, I don't know if you were listening earlier in the show, but
no, I was recording Locked On, man. What happened? What did I miss?
Okay, so we were talking about another solid night from Mamu, right? Okay. Mamu shot 3 or 4 from 3 yesterday. And over the last 5 games is 25 for 41 from the field, 61%. Last 5 games, 14 to 24, 58% from 3. Transpose that to the fact that he outplayed Sochan last night.
Yeah.
Is it wrong to say that it's possible that Mamu is better than Sochan?
Ooh, a little.
Can we have this conversation a little bit?
Mamu's more efficient with the minutes, Jeff. The numbers don't lie.
I know, but I give him equal amount of ish and time on the court to really get a good sample size. They really are. If one is impactful more than the other.
I mean, we have a full year of looking at it, Joe.
Okay, how many games have Sochan played and Mamu? And how many minutes have they shared?
Well, they don't have to share it. I mean, it's just what do they do when they get on the court? I mean, they're both bench players at this point. I mean, neither one of them is starting.
We have a saying here, Jeff. We have a saying here. And the saying is, women lie, people lie, but the numbers don't lie.
Yeah, I get that, but I mean, they're just 2 different players. I mean,
well, they're both in the front court.
It's like comparing apples to oranges.
But I mean, there's only 5 positions you can have on the court, right? They're both the same height. They're both 6'9".
Man. You know what? Why don't you tweet that? See what happens.
I want you to get cooked again.
Well, Jeremy Sochan, just to kind of let you know, they played similar amount of games. Mamu's played 50, Sochan's played 51, right?
Yeah.
So I'm getting the points down right now. Okay, so Sochan averages 25.3 minutes per game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mamu averages, let's see here, 9 minutes per game. Right?
Yeah.
So Sochan plays almost 3 times more than Mamu. Sochan averages 11.5 points per game. Mamu right at 6, right under 6.
Yeah.
Dude, the per 36, Mamu kills him.
Man,
kills him.
I don't know, Jimenez. Yeah, that I think that's. I look at just time on the court, games played, also when they're on the court. I mean, for the bulk of the time this season, Mamu's usually been in garbage time. Now he's starting to get a little bit more meaningful minutes, but I think you got to adjust for that because he will get in, when the games are either out of hand, or the Spurs are up or the Spurs are down.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. They're both role players at this point. I would agree with you if it was like, okay, well, Sochan is starting and he has starter minutes and he's playing the first 6 to 8 minutes of the game. Sochan didn't get into the end of the first quarter yesterday. Sochan played 15 minutes yesterday. Mamu played more minutes than Sochan yesterday.
Yeah, I like to see how the season plays out.
Because I know you like to do things from a macro level. You like to go like, oh, I want to see the whole season play out.
Yeah.
But I mean, you have to make adjustments at some point, right? And if you were watching last night's game and you were an alien from outer space and you were taught what basketball was and you were watching this game, there's no way in the world anybody would say that Sohan was better than Mamu.
For that one game?
For the last week, for the last month. Mamu has outplayed Sohan, and Sohan's going to be looking for a pay raise in about 14 months.
Oh, he's up for one, right?
Well, he has the last year of his contract is next year, and then he's a restricted free agent. I'm just saying, I would much rather have Mamu on this team on an $8 million a year deal than have to pay Sohan for $20-25 million a year.
We got a question for you, Jeff, from one of our viewers here. Hanover Fist, thank you for the question. Watching us from YouTube, he says, what does Jeff think Spurs going to do with Sohan's extension? Offer renewal in the offseason, low ball, or make him play and see where he is next season?
The Spurs historically do the renewals. They historically do. From Vassell to Keldon and everybody else in between, they'll do the extension. They'll do the extension. I don't think they're going to lowball him either. I think you might see something not mega money like they gave Keldon and Devin, but maybe a little below that, where just more up front, it descends at the end, kind of like what Keldon and Devin are having right now. But no, they usually re-up their guys, and this is a situation where they're going to do it.
I'm pulling the poll up right now. You all continue the conversation. I'm putting the poll out right now to see if we get some reaction in real time.
I was going to ask you a question too, Jeff. I mean, what have you thought about this Spurs team in the absence of one, Wemby and Fox?
Well,
they've played.
I'm glad you brought that up. A lot of Spurs fans I think they're reading more into what Devin Vassell had to say about that last night. He wasn't trying to disparage Wemby and Fox. He just said, yes, it is tough playing without those two guys, but he said even without those two guys, the team is still special, that they can still play, they can still ball. And I think Spurs fans took that as a slight. But I don't think he was trying to slight. I think he was just saying, like, hey, we're playing okay even without them, those two guys. And Jimenez, you brought it up on Locked On Spurs today. Look at their record pre-Pistons. It's, what was it, 5-7 the last that time span for one of the last 5 and. So you see, he has a point. He's saying like, even without Wemby and Fox, they're still doing pretty good.
One of the quotes that did stick out at me, Jeff.
But the problem is, though, Joe, is that they're playing cream puff teams in that span. Yeah. That's the only thing I don't like. Yeah,
true enough. One of the quotes that Devin did say after the game that stuck out with me, as he said, there's still things that we need to clean up.
Oh yeah,
I mean. That's like the no-brainer response. Of course, there's things you need to clean up.
At this point of the season, what more can they talk about? I mean, seriously.
Yeah. But the thing is that the same things they need to clean up are the same things that's plagued this team for a number of seasons already. Yeah. They still haven't learned to clean those things up. And it was Devin who's famously said, "Oh, we hooping, you watch. I'm watching. You still ain't doing nothing." Devin is one of the most inconsistent players on this Spurs roster. And to me,
that comment because Spurs fans about Wemby, right? Wasn't that like the context of it? Oh, you get Wemby, He's like, man, we're lottery or some of that.
No, that was before they even got Wemby. He said, he was working in the off season. He's feeling good. You watch. We hooping. You watch. I'm watching. Devin is one of the most inconsistent players on the Spurs roster. He's up and down all the time. You never know what you're going to get with one Devin Vassell. And at the end of the day, I just think Devin is just a guy. He's a piece. He's all right, but he's not showing that he's even a third option at this point. That's going to be Stephon Castle.
Yeah, but you can see the other option. The other side of the coin is that he is stepping up when those two guys are out right now. I think it'd be more red alert, red alarms, all that red flags, if he was still playing bad. Even now without Fox and Wemby, but he's elevating his game. So you can see it. I can see both sides of the coin, your point and then the other point.
Yeah. To me, there's a big question mark on Devin Vassell. There's a big question mark on Jeremy Sohan. If I was a GM and I had to make the decision on Sohan, I'd let him walk. Same thing with Devin Vassell. I'd try to trade him and see if good for him.
Hey, Menace, how much does all this change in the draft if they draft a guy at the same position as Sohan or Vassell?
Well, they have to draft somebody down low. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I'm looking at that kid from Duke who's 7'3", and he actually likes to bang bodies down low. Can actually shoot pretty decently from three. Not great. I mean, he's all right. But the Spurs need to move on from certain players. And if they pick somebody who's better than Sohan, they pick somebody who's better than Sohan, you just move on. And same thing for Vassell. If the Spurs pick in the top 4 and it's not Cooper Flagg, Vassell's gone. Because Edgecombe, Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper in the backcourt or playing the 2-3 position, they're gonna need minutes. The minutes got to come from somewhere. The minutes aren't going to come from Stephon Castle.
Yeah,
they got to move on from some of these players.
Yeah, you see how the draft is really going to shake up the roster, depending on the type of player they get. Obviously, they're going to get best available. When that's a swing guy, well, then they're seriously loaded with swing guys because that's what. Who's that? Barnes, Vassell, Keldon, I guess Sohan. So yeah, and I think in the draft, right, Joe? A majority of these guys are swing guys.
Yeah, a lot of them are 2-3.
Yep, a lot of them are. But I'd like to see the Spurs pair another 7-footer alongside Wemby. Let's go ahead and get that resurgence of the Twin Towers back on the court. Because me and Mike were talking about that, and we both said if they have 2 7-footers on the court at the same time, it's going to be awful tough for teams to get a shot open, especially when you have that type of rim protection in the paint.
Yeah, the 2 players that I'm really falling in love with are Asa Newell from Georgia, who's a 6'10" power forward who can shoot the ball, has good handles. And then I'm looking at Kaman from Duke, the 7'2", 250 from South Sudan. He's just a defensive black hole, dude. He's a fantastic player. I'm looking at those 2 guys as those are the plug and play guys. Those are the positions that we need. We don't know who's going to fall to the Spurs. There might be a player that falls to the Spurs that they don't expect, but those 2 guys right there fit a need of what the team needs.
Hey, I was going to ask you. I think I asked Jimenez this. Joe, I'll ask you this question: if you have to redo the draft again, does Castle go number 1?
Jeez, man, I think Castle does go number 1. In hindsight, I guess the powers that be, if they would have scouted him a little bit better, they would have seen the potential. And there's no doubt in my mind that he would have been the number 1 overall pick. It's just, by the grace of God, he would drop down to the Spurs and they got him there. And
I think he goes. I think he goes
of the year.
I think he goes 3.
So he just goes up 1 spot. Who goes ahead of him still? Sar and
Richardson. Yeah, I think Atlanta's happy with Richardson. I think that the powers that be are happy with Alex Sarr at Washington. I think that they all got the guys that they needed and they wanted. I don't think that Castle's head and shoulders above anybody in this draft. I mean, we might look at this draft 2 or 3 years from now and say to ourselves, hey man, that Richardson, Sarr, Castle 1, 2, and 4 in the draft were the best players in the draft. They had the best careers. We don't know what's with that kid from Duke, McCain, who got hurt earlier in the season. He was averaging 15 points per game for Philadelphia. I mean, he might be the best player in the draft when it's all said and done. But we know we got a good one, and we know he'll be Rookie of the Year when it's all said and done. Hey, can we talk pop culture? Before we talk pop culture, can we send some love to MCS General Contracting?
MCS General Contracting, more than 30 years of combined experience in concrete placement. They are the best in the business, honest pricing, high quality work. They get going on house foundations, driveways, concrete patio decks. If you want to extend the deck, extend the driveway. If you're a business and you need to put together a slab, a parking lot, or other concrete placement services or sidewalks, reach out to MCS General Contracting at 210-774-9155. They're confident in their skills, so give Chris Leha over at MCS General Contracting a call at 210-774-9155. And thank you for being a sponsor of this show.
MCS General Contracting, home of that diamond hard concrete, home of the phrase, F them picks. That's right.
Hey, I know you want to get into some pop culture, and right now Jimenez, but did you know the Spurs are going to the playoffs?
Oh, I know.
How
We're
so?
talking about the Austin Spurs.
Austin
San
Spurs.
Antonio Spurs.
They clinched the playoffs last night. I think they clinched the top seed in the Western Conference. I think they did. Still got 2 more games on the regular season.
There it is, Jeff.
They punched their ticket to the playoffs. So I think the Spurs are going to the playoffs, Jimenez.
Nice.
And look, we do have some results, Mike, from your poll that you put up there. How many of you are starting to think that Mamu is better than Jeremy Sohan? 52.6% of the voting, the fans have voted, and they said that Sohan is better. 47.6% say Mamu is better. I threw my vote in there, and I said Mamu is better.
By the way, if Mamu gets 30% or higher, then he wins. Because we have to grade on a curve for that Sohan bias.
God. But he has blue hair or whatever color his hair.
But he's got purple hair. Oh my God, he's got purple hair.
Hey,
the one hand free throws.
It's to the point where during the FanDuel broadcast they have to bring up his hair color. Now I caught that.
Why don't they also bring up what drink he's drinking before he goes into the arena? 1 hour.
Doing that, or you just mess around me, Joe?
Huh?
You being serious about that?
I'm being dead serious. You all think I'm playing, man. I've already had, I don't know how many people have told me this, that they see him out at the club or at the bar or what have you. He's out there drinking an hour before tip-off, and then he just strolls into the arena right out the bar.
Man.
I'm not kidding, man.
Yeah, so what you got on pop culture, dude?
Well, it's not. I brought this up briefly to Joe a couple of days ago, and I wanted to bring it up. I was, I was on Spotify, and I was listening to songs, right, going by, and it reminded me of this TikTok that I saw of John Stockton. So the Utah Jazz great. John Stockton is mentioned in the Not Like Us song by Kendrick Lamar, right? Kendrick Lamar won a ton of Grammys, played in the Super Bowl. And there's that song there's that lyric he says in Not Like Us about John Stockton. The very next song that came on Spotify was Promiscuous by Nelly Furtado, right? And she says, is your game MVP like Steve Nash? And it got me thinking about like about songs that name drop an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Jay-Z back in the day when he sang Crazy in Love with Beyonce, brings up former Spur Nick Van Exel.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the better song of those three?
What's
the better name drop of the three?
Manu's also been mentioned in rap.
Yeah, Manu's been named in rap. We've seen some songs with Kobe's name being mentioned as well. LeBron.
Yeah.
But none of those were hits. These were these three songs were monsters.
I'll say the third one, the Beyonce Jay-Z one.
The dropping of Van Exel's name.
Yeah.
Joe, which one you got?
I'll go with Jeff, man, on this one.
The answer, sorry, just playing. My favorite one is Nelly Furtado saying, is your game MVP like Steve Nash? Because she's from Canada, and Steve Nash is from Canada. And that was like a double homage, right? It was, I loved it, dude. I loved it.
Oh, gosh, she's Canadian.
What's that?
I forgot she's Canadian.
She's Portuguese ethnicity, but she's from Canada.
Yeah. I thought she was American.
Sam Salinas saying Nelly Furtado was hot. What happened to her? She's still singing, dude. She's out there performing.
Still singing, still a nugget. Verified.
What happened to Natalie Imbruglia?
Well, she was banging Lenny Kravitz for a while and then fell off the face of the earth.
You know what, Jeff? I'm going to tell you something, man. I don't know if you've seen it, but I talked about it earlier in the week. I was watching TV the other day, and I texted Mike out of nowhere, and I said, bro, that Dr. Garcia from the Crest commercials, man, she's hot, bro. I looked her up, too.
For me, it's the one on the First Credit Union commercial. I think that's the one.
I know which one you're talking about.
I think it's wait, what am I missing on this one?
Yeah.
Was it Credit Union?
First Mark or something like that?
Credit Union.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one.
I'm trying to pull her up now. We got to see this, man.
I think it's First Mark. I'm not too sure. I just remember green and white and the black color scheme.
Yeah. What I'm saying, man, that Dr. Garcia dude, she cute. She fine.
I don't even know what you're talking about. You're showing me all these photos and videos. How did I not know this?
Yeah, I don't know.
What are you talking about?
The Crest girl?
Yeah. Aren't there multiple though? Like doctors in those commercials?
I'm saying
Sam Salinas reaches out to you, Jeff, and says that Nelly Imbruglia is lying naked on the floor.
That's
a good line. Yeah, that's a good line.
That's a good
Dude, I hadn't thought about Nelly Imbruglia in forever, man. What is she up to these days? And was she hot or was she just cute back in the day? Because I didn't think she was hot. I thought she was cute.
No, that both. For me,
get out of here, dude. With that little boy cut.
Look at that. That's what I'm saying, Jeff. Look at that. That's Dr. Garcia from the Crest commercial. I put it up on screen for us.
I like that the third one from the top row there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Like, dang.
Is that the same person?
It's the same person. It's the same person. Dr. Garcia, fine, man. That's all I'm saying. I ain't trying to get Mike. I'm not trying to implicate Mike.
Hey, Joe. It's just part of the Garcia charm.
Right? Oh, look at that, man. Sam Salinas. Joe is 100% right. That girl is smoking. That's what I'm saying, man. That's all I'm saying.
You couldn't find that.
Natalie Imbruglia is still singing, and she was on the British version of The Masked Singer a few years ago, and she won. And she just turned 50 years old.
Oh, join the club.
50. She turned 50. I'm gonna be turning 50 this Saturday, so I got to tell the peeps again, man, so they know where to go this Saturday. We're gonna be partying over at Pete's place on Saturday. I'm gonna have a party there. It's gonna start at 7. So if you all want to come out and join me, I know Sean Quintero's gonna be there, Mike. So Sean's
nice.
Up. Yeah. So come out.
Oh, sorry, Joe. I mean, I thought you were done there. I like when you have your parties at your house, though. Those are the best.
Yeah, it's fun. But I had it last year, so I'm just trying to change pace, and do something a little different this time because it's gonna be my 50th, and that way I don't have to clean up all the mess, because having to go out there all hungover.
The last time we were at your party, it wasn't that bad in the yard.
Yeah. I still got to break down everything though, like put up the canopy and all that. Lock the gate so Mike can't go back there,
Last year. Yeah, I got back from someplace last year. I don't know. I was somewhere out of town. I came in, my flight came in late, and I went to your house at like 2 a.m. thinking that the party would still be going on, but everyone had already gone mimis. But I was in the backyard looking for people.
And where were you, Joe?
I was probably dead asleep upstairs.
Probably knocked out.
Man. Knocked the hell out.
Breaking and entering.
Bro, we had been drinking since the daytime. Since I started cooking, I was barbecuing, and then we had, I think, was it Brandon? Yeah, Brandon. No, it was before that. It was a year prior. I was barbecuing in the backyard and all that, drinking, having a good time, and then Mike came through.
Mike breaking and entering.
Exactly.
Damn, but no, sweet as pop culture, I regret not. I need to sign up for like Majestic Theater, like advertisements or what's on deck for the month because last night Hall & Oates was in San Antonio. I had no idea.
Oh, really?
I had no idea. It wasn't for Pleasure. I heard Pleasure on the show. It's like, wait a minute. I texted Pleasure. I'm like, did y'all say Hall, but just Hall? He's like, yeah, he's in San Antonio. I was like, and it was like an early concert. It started like at 6. I was like, how did I not know this?
So I've seen Daryl Hall perform twice with John Oates back in the day. They're not going to perform together anymore.
They're a legal fight right now, right?
They're on the outs right now. Yeah, and you know what? Daryl Hall's being a complete dick about it. By the way,
I saw them play in New Jersey at Continental Arena. But by the way, their tickets are expensive. I'm like, how much?
I was second row, and I was given those tickets second row to watch Hall & Oates perform at the Majestic Theater about 5 or 6 years ago. It was a great show, man. One of the best shows I've ever been to. They're fantastic. They're on the outs because Daryl Hall wants to keep the rights to his music, and John Oates is trying to sell his portion. You know how people sell before they die, they like to sell their royalties. I understand it. Daryl Hall wants to, Daryl Hall basically loses rights to his own.
Yeah.
But they're 50-50 partners. Anyway, what I didn't like was that Daryl Hall's talking trash about John Oates when it comes to it all.
Yeah.
Well, saying that he wasn't 50% and all that stuff.
Well, I think that historically, when they were a duo, Oates was the primary songwriter. Like he wrote majority of those songs. And yes, if you go and listen to some of their albums, he does perform by himself with Hall acting as backup vocals. So they got lost in the whole Hall & Oates shuffle. But he's not a bad singer, Oates is. But it just frustrated because I live downtown and the Majestic is like walking distance to me.
Yeah.
I could have gone. Like I had no idea. I was like, what is up? And I also takes a pleasure, and I clarified, I go, did you say you're giving them away or you're reminding people? And he goes, no, we're reminding people. I was like, darn it. But so that was a concert I missed out there. And then another thing, I checking the fine print, it was Mike Taylor. He texted me. He had some extra tickets for another event at the Majestic. And I didn't read the fine print. It was like for that day. He just was giving them to me. He goes, here, you want these tickets? He goes, you can have them. And I just assumed they were for a future date. Yeah. I go, hey, when is that event? And it was at the Majestic. And I looked at the text he sent me. And I screenshot it. I'm like, oh my God, it was the same day. He just couldn't make it that day. I was like, man, I missed on that one too. And it was free tickets.
Updating the poll, 42 votes in. Who's better, Mamu or Sohan? Sohan 55%, Mamu 45%. Look at that, Jeff.
Well, what was the number again? You broke up a little bit.
55% to 45%. The sentiment is changing, Jeff. You see this? You know when you catch things before everybody else, like I say things like, you know what the Spurs should do? The Spurs should tank for Wemby. The Spurs should go after that Şengün guy. The Spurs should go after this guy. The Spurs should get Castle. I was talking about Castle with you on Locked On Spurs months before the draft, right? Mm-hmm. I see things before they happen.
Well, you talked about Şengün a lot before the draft. You were like, everybody came on. You were like, Şengün this, Şengün that.
He's an all-star.
Who did they pass up? They passed up him, Halliburton, that draft. Who was another one? It was like, Smith? No. Was it Jabari Smith?
JHNSB coming out and saying that Mike Jimenez is easily a better GM than Brian Wright.
Man.
Jeff can't say it. He can't agree with it. You know what I wanted to get into real quick as we start bringing the show to a close here, Jeff. I don't know if you saw this or not, but it was a lot of it was made up as a big hyped game, right? A big hyped game yesterday against the Heat and the Golden State Warriors. Jimmy Bucket's coming back, playing against his old team. He comes into the game, immediately gets dunked on, dude. Okay. And the Heat go on to beat, just handedly beat the Golden State Warriors. And Miami did a good thing. They had a tribute video for Jimmy.
Everybody gets a tribute video.
Yeah, they have a tribute video. I'm sure he didn't care either way, but they're trying to be a classy organization. I'm sure that he was greeted to a lot of boos by the fans,
Correct me if I'm wrong, Joe or Jimenez. Before he got out of the league, didn't the Spurs give Luka Samanic a tribute video? Remember there was that string of tribute videos. It was like almost like one every day at the arena. And I remember fans were like, they gave him a tribute video, and I think it was Luka. I think because after the Spurs, I think he went to Utah.
He went somewhere.
He went somewhere, and then he came that first game back. They did that, and then
did you call him Sandwich, right?
Sandwich. Yeah, Sandwich. Also, too, but I did hear that the fans cheered Butler, but didn't he pull a Kawhi on them? Didn't he force himself out of there? Why would you cheer for a guy who doesn't? An all-star like that wants out. And I heard they cheer for him.
He forces himself out of every organization he goes to. He's probably going to force himself out of being with the Golden State Warriors at some point. He's just a journeyman at this point. He didn't like some of the comments, I guess, that Pat Riley said about him. Pat Riley kind of holding his feet to the fire. Didn't like it. Got in his feelings and was like, that's it. You pissed me off. I want out. She refused to show up to practice. And he was just a detriment to the team. I'm sure he was doing a lot of stupid things in the locker room too. They're not going to come out and say it, but I mean, you can read between the lines. Good that he's gone. You know, when he got traded, Mike probably said,
Good.
Same thing's going to happen, Jeff, when they announce Coach Pop, he's retiring from coaching. He's done with coaching. He's going to retire. And Mike's response, good.
Let me ask you, Jimenez, if and when Pop does say, okay, that's it, I'm done, moving on, do you think he would do a press conference or nah?
No.
Duncan never did I don't think Duncan did a press conference, right?
Duncan submitted a fax.
No, you're right. Yeah, it was basically a letter. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he faxed in a letter. No, man, I
don't think Tony Parker did one, right? He didn't do one, right?
Well, he wasn't playing for the Spurs at the time.
No. When he retired,
right?
Yeah, the only one that did it was Manu. Manu was the only one who did a post retirement conference.
Hey Jeff, before we let you go, sports question.
Yeah,
Oklahoma City is the number 1 overall seed in the Western Conference.
Yeah,
you've got 3 games with about 10 to 12 games to go, depending on the team. You've got 3 games separating Houston, Denver, Memphis, and LA, the Lakers, right?
Okay.
Lakers have struggled. They were the number 2 seed just 2 weeks ago. Now they're not number 5.
Wow.
Which of those teams is the best competition for Oklahoma City, or is it just simply going to be OKC? Just foregone conclusion.
I'm going to say the one that it could have been was Dallas. I think Dallas could have been the biggest threat to OKC. The one that's current, I'm going to say Denver.
Rockets have won 9 out of 10 games, moved into the number 2 spot right now with a 47-26 record. They have 2 games in the loss column above Denver, Memphis, and LA.
Joe, you think Dallas would have been the biggest threat? If you look at their roster,
yeah,
if they were still healthy, Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, Gafford, I think they really could have put a scare in OKC.
Probably because of their size. But
because OKC struggles against big teams. That's why I picked Denver.
They do struggle against big teams, but overall too, I think when it comes down to it, I think if you press OKC and you really get physical with them, you can actually give your team a chance. And I think that's what the Rockets can do. I think the Rockets are one of these teams.
But are the Rockets big enough, or are they just?
I think they're scrappy enough to give teams fits. And I'm not saying they're good enough to go all the way, but I think they're going to be a scrappy team.
If you're Ime, do you say, muck it up a bit, wink, wink, you know what I mean?
Hey, he wants to see some nasty, Jeff,
You know what? I have no problem with that. Like, I think I would love to go play for Ime Udoka, get out there and play within the rules.
You know what Ume could have been doing? What he's doing for the Rockets right now, he could have been doing for the Spurs. But you know what Coach Pop says? I'm not done yet.
How many coaches have left because Pop's
oh man.
Yeah, and then I think there was even one recently. Remember Darius Sangalia? He was an assistant coach on the Spurs bench. He left and he did an interview because he went to coach for an overseas team, and he flat out said, he goes, I'm not going to stick around because by the time I move up in the coaching ranks, I don't know when that'll happen. And that's why he left San Antonio. He goes, at that time, Pop was still okay. It's like Pop's still there. And he mentioned a couple other coaches. He goes, until that guy, I think Popovich exits, I'm going to be stuck stagnant.
What did they have there? Borrego. They had, what else did they have? Udoka.
The boot holder, Mike Brown. They had Monty Williams.
They had a bunch of
Monty Williams is my dark horse. If Pop says I'm done.
Doesn't Monty Williams already live in San Antonio?
He lives in San Antonio. It's. I mean, I think him, Mike Brown are probably, and Mitch are probably the 3 guys probably at the top of the Spurs list.
Listen to this, Jeff. I threw a name out there that nobody has mentioned. Nobody has mentioned this name. Jason Kidd. If he decides, you know what, I'm out. I don't want to be the Mavs head coach anymore. What say you? Would you be a Jason Kidd being the Spurs coach?
I wouldn't mind it. Wouldn't mind it at all. You think? Why do I get a feeling like Chris Paul will stick around after he's done? Like kind of like Becky Hammond did. or other form like Ime Udoka did, Monty Williams did, and be in that coaching staff. Because I don't know if you caught this, guys, but during games, watch when he's not playing. He's not sitting with the players. He's sitting with the coaching staff.
Yeah, he's. It looks like he's interested in becoming a coach, but
I think he'd make a hell of a coach.
You think if he's going to want the big stage, why would he stay here with the Spurs?
What do you mean the big stage, like the pop seat?
Yeah, like if you want to go ahead and throw your name in the hat, make it be known that you want to be a coach, or you're going to be an assistant coach on a team, a good team, maybe. Why would you want?
Yeah, he's not making it known, but
I'm saying if you do, isn't it kind of like a resume? Kind of like, hey, I'm interested. I'm showing you all I'm interested in being a coach of your team.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want a bigger stage than San Antonio?
Yeah, but this is where some of these coaches they cut their teeth though.
That's
Jeff.
true.
Jeff, they move on from Mitch. That'll be 3 coaches in 3 seasons for Victor Wembanyama. This was not the team he should have gone to. If that's the case, this was not the team he was destined for. If that's the case, man. You can't be doing that to superstar players. Can you imagine if Duncan had 3 coaches in 3 seasons? Can you imagine if Robinson had 3 coaches in 3 seasons?
Well, what happened with Fox? What happened with Fox? He wanted out of Sacramento because what? That same exact reason. Too many coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, also, too, don't forget Mitch Johnson before Wemby went out, still doing that player development with him, and even when he took over the interim head coach. So that's a lot to be said in Wemby's eyes.
All right, man. Well, let's wrap up the show. Jeff, thank you for being on with us. Joe,
not a problem.
Enjoy the last of your 40s, Joe. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm gonna try to be back in the studio tomorrow, man. I'm gonna try to make it happen in the studio tomorrow. But everyone, hit the like button on the way out. Thank you for the super chats, and we'll be back tomorrow.
See you, boys. Bye.
We're out.